Welcome to Cultivated Live for Thursday, September 12th. My name is Jay Rosenthal. I'm the co-founder of Cultivated Media, the host of this program called Cultivated Live. And since we launched Cultivated, our goal has been to be cannabis industry first, providing you with the most important, insightful, useful, and timely information every single day. We do that through our daily newsletter at Cultivated Daily. We do that through this daily live stream called Cultivated Live. We would love if you follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to us on YouTube, and get our newsletter by going to cultivated.news. You'll find everything you need there. I got a very nice note today, Krista, from someone who says, someone that you know, someone that I know. I don't want to out them as having been a reader, but they said, love reading the newsletter every day. You will too if you are in the industry. So get it at cultivated.news. Krista Raymer, you are the founder and CEO of Vetrina. You and your team are the foremost cannabis retail consultants in North America, but maybe the world.
You just keep making up titles.
I'm making up titles, but I like them. I love superlatives. Welcome. First of all, welcome. Nice to see you on this Thursday morning. We have you on Thursday mornings to talk about what you're seeing in cannabis retail. You posted something, I think it was yesterday, but I read all the things you post on LinkedIn, and you should too if you follow the industry closely. Not you, Krista. You obviously read it, but I mean anybody who may be watching today. And it was, there were two things. One was about price compression, which we've seen in nearly every market as they go through the ramp up phase. But then like the next phase after ramp up is like price compression as more product hits the market, growers catch up with demand, all that. And so price compression sort of as one attribute. The other is inflation and economic realities of the time, let's say. And I think your thesis was it's difficult to extrapolate beyond this very moment because those two things are impacting pricing, consumer behavior, and to extrapolate beyond maybe the next quarter is going to be challenging if you think these attributes are set in stone, because they're not. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's 100% right. We have two forces with downward pressure in most markets, like any market that has maybe unlimited licensing or not, like limitations around retail environments, as well as any mature market that has kind of grown into itself. We see both of these things happening at once. Now, the Census Bureau, I think, recently came out and said like inflation in July and August might be down compared to June, but the reality is like housing costs are still looking very expensive and or are up, as well as that hasn't necessarily translated to dollars back in consumers' pockets immediately. And so we have this intense pressure from our customers around where their dollars are going. So they look at their dollars and they're like, these are not as valuable as they once were. And then you have also like supply and demand metrics that are resulting in pricing compression. So at the retail store, if you're a retail operator, you're looking at it and being like, my customers are price sensitive and there is so much demand or supply in the market, and I have a certain amount of demand. I'm going to push the price down so that where possible, I can bring the price in line with my customer. Now, this has been kind of going on for the last couple of years, but I would say that the summer period currently right now, we have this intense pressure on the consumer, and that is showing up in the way that they are spending their dollars at once.
And those two pressures may not last forever, inflationary pressure may last forever, and certainly downward pricing may not last forever. Like there's a cycle to that as well, generally, where the market evens out. And so, but when or how those things get lifted, one is like the economic numbers might tell one story, but how consumers are feeling it may be actually something else, and how they allocate dollars to cannabis may be yet a third calculation. These are sort of big picture trends, but do have impact on, mom and pop shops all the way up to, big MSO chains.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about the application of this information, you're a retailer, you're bringing in inventory, you're purchasing maybe weekly, bi-weekly, maybe on a 4-week schedule. So you're making decisions around pricing kind of relatively in a short period of time. You might have some strategy to which that looks, but you're really trying to stay in tune with pricing on a very short time horizon. Customers feeling inflation has been a long time coming, right. And pricing compression doesn't happen overnight either. And so you have three different time horizons to which this plays out on a product price, which on the product price then gets influenced how bud tenders sell it and how customers understand the value of product relative to the other products in store while they're standing there making a purchase. And like, if we think about the way that a customer purchases, the best customers are usually purchasing somewhere between kind of like 18, 21 days, somewhere in there. And so if they are purchasing on that cycle, you're not going to see them react to kind of like this economic and price compressed environment for a couple purchases. So you have cycles that you have to follow. You can't just track it on a day over day basis because it's not relative to I am a like for like customer when I purchase multiple times, whereas you and I might purchase completely differently. And so it's hard to compare our transactions and how they might like compress over time, if that makes sense. So how does my behavior change? Let's say, for example, over a year, how does your behavior change over a year? Those are two considerations. And then what does it mean when we take a blend of your reaction and my reaction? Because not all customers feel, say, for example, the economic pressure of inflation the same way. And that is the other thing that makes this data very complicated when you look at the retail sales.
Yeah, you're making my head hurt by all the things that need to be considered, but it factors into really every part of the business too, because it factors into inventory and pricing and selling and cycles and how you talk to customers and understanding even in the sort of not the physical layout of the store necessarily, but where you actually are in the demographics of the people that come in. I mean, all these things factor into how, I mean, not to sound obvious, but factor into how you run your dispensary business and how you train people to sell and what product you have. There are these macro issues at play as well that you need to sort of always be cognizant of.
Yeah, the example of this is like, let's say a store wants to increase their basket size this year versus last year, and maybe they've put in like a 15 to 20% lift in that basket size. Bud tenders likely are standing on the sales floor, very frustrated dealing with customers trying to meet this average basket target, while the customer in front of them is like pushing downward on price the whole time. You now as a leader seem tone deaf if you're not able to understand those things relative to each other, and then also coach the bud tenders on what lifting average basket size looks like. Is it actually about getting customers to purchase more expensive product, or is this actually about thinking through ways that we are identifying the number of units and how we are supporting them with the merchandising of selling the right profit dollar product in store, as opposed to just like increase the average unit price $2? Well, where could you have the list price the same, but increase your profit dollars $2 on the product? And that's comes down to merchandising, coaching, and selling, and really working with your team for them to understand what the customer is experiencing. Like, are we giving the team members in store the right tone, the right way to address pricing sensitivity? It's something that I haven't seen a lot of in training materials, but it's a big opportunity as we kind of like, especially go into the fall.
Yeah. Because it can't be blunt force, right? You can, and even as we just said, like, we want to increase basket size 15%, but on average, the average price has fallen by 15%. So you're actually saying you're basing you want 15% growth based on numbers from a year ago, but your prices have come down 15%. You're actually saying from a year ago you want a 30% increase in basket size, yet the consumers are saying we actually, our default now is like 30% less across the board.
We actually need 30% less than last year. Yeah. Right. So you just get further and further apart, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah. See, I just thought of something that you...
No, that's it. Against sports?
You would laugh when we were there last night, and you know that I love playing against sports. I will tell you the story later, but we ended up with, of course, a new pair of skates as opposed to a new pair of blades, like a new skate blades, because skate blades are like $120. The new skates were 99. New skates. The used skates were 99, but they gave us $20 towards the skates because we passed. Like, so we ended up with.
You got new skates for less than the blades.
Exactly, and the skates are way better. Like, Sai's very excited. Anyway.
This is what customers are. This is exactly what customers are doing while they're in the store. Actually, it's like they're going in, say, for example, for 2 8s, and they're walking out with 8s and pre-rolls because they can get a better quality product, or their perception of a better quality product in the pre-roll. and they're not after like gram for gram. They're after thinking through what their price or value for product is. And like that is an incredibly difficult thing to train on the sales floor, and then think through like how you assort, how you promote, how you merchandise the store accordingly.
Yeah. See, I didn't think there was a lesson in there from Play It Again last
We can turn
night.
it around every time. Love Play It Again.
You turn it around every time. Last week was Starbucks, and it really struck a chord, by the way, with comments and interest in what you were saying about Starbucks and cold drinks and the impact on efficiency in a store. And this I think will strike home as well. Just thinking even more broadly about, even if you think about more broadly the pressure you're putting on your Salesforce staff to sell and increase basket size, has all kinds of calculations you need to think about, from pricing from the past, pricing the future, average price, like products you have in your inventory, to economic realities that your consumers are facing, to downward pressure. Like, it's all of those things need to be factored into running retail, which is why it's challenging, which is why you should always talk to Krista every Thursday morning.
We aren't economists. We're just trying to stay in tune with what the customer is experiencing, and thinking about how the customer experiences life before and during their experience in store, and then after. Yeah. And this comes up in all ways that they make decisions right now.
Yeah. And I think you're not an economist. I'm not an economist. But one thing I do know is that consumer behavior may lag economic data you read in the paper, right? Like, just because inflation is coming down below 2% or whatever it is, like, that doesn't mean consumers will change their behavior overnight because they see that. It may take a quarter or two for consumers' reality to catch up with economic data that is today.
Yeah. And I think even within that, it's like, how does the customer experience that information? Like, if you are a homeowner and your mortgage rate, or if you are renting, and what type of access to like food and activities you have, like all of this is going to be impacted differently for different customer bases. And that's the other kind of thing that makes this very complicated, is like, how do you cross-reference your customer behavior to their lifestyle impacts with things like inflation.
Yeah. And just to go back to the Play It Again sports, the guy there who we talk to all the time, he said it was his busiest summer he's ever had in 15 years of business, because people are looking for value for dollar as school ramps up, as school sports ramp up.
Yeah.
And he said it wasn't just hockey skates. It was like all across the board, all across. Yeah. So see, there is something related to,
or we have excessive inventory out just in the universe. Combination of both, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's the
Well, Krista, let me see. We have a comment which I like. I don't know who it's from. Just from LinkedIn user. It says, "These are great. Love the content." Well, thank you, LinkedIn user at 10:13 a.m. Eastern. We like doing it. I like seeing Krista every Thursday because I learn a ton about how my behavior may not be as unique as I think it is, but also retail trends that people need to know about at dispensary owners, operators, bud tenders, all the rest. Get in touch with the team at Vetrina. They are great. I'll put a link about how to do that. Krista, we always see you on Thursdays. It's great to spend time. Thank you for making it work this morning. For those that follow us closely, tomorrow is our second installment of Reporter's Notebook, produced in partnership with MJ Biz and Cultivated. We will be, it's Scott Walters. Hello, Scott. Great to see you. We will be back tomorrow with Chris Roberts from MJ Biz, talking about Amendment 3 in Florida, talking about all things politics and cannabis, because it was another big week at the intersection of those two things. So we will see you tomorrow talking about all of that. Krista, thanks again. And if you are following along, if you have a dispensary in your neighborhood, go buy some cannabis today from your local dispensary. And based on this conversation, buy maybe 15% more than you generally would.
Great call. Thanks, Jay.
Okay, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, everybody. See you next week, Krista.